Hi. This is the first time that I have not moved the camera right at the last second before it starts. I'm not particularly happy with the shot, but I just decided not to move it right at the last second. Normally, right at the last second, I decide to move it. This time, I decided not to move it. That's a positive change. That is a change of some kind, right? I don't exactly know what it symbolises. Maybe it's something to do with control tendencies or something. Or like last minute changes, last second changes. Don't know. Anyway, welcome to Fieros Reborn. That's the channel. That's the channel. And now I will move the camera slightly so that my head is more like that. I've got a bit of my leg in there as well. I've got my feet up. I like to have my feet up. I'm lazy. Okay, so trusting that the camera will have me in shot if I stay vaguely in this position, I'm going to minimize the screen that I can see so that I can give you, Mr. or Mrs. Camera, the full attention of my own attention. Yeah, hello. Okay, welcome to Fieros Reborn, which is the channel. And I don't know what name I want to have today. I don't want to have a name today. I'll just be me, without a name, just me. Even me is too much of a name right now. But what we're going to do is carry on. What I'm going to do, you're going to sit here and listen. And then write annoying comments underneath. But what I'm going to do... What am I going to do? Oh yeah, I'm going to talk about my past. And it's called Fieros' Story Time. So we'll just cut out the Fieros part in the video. I'll keep it for the title. And we'll just call it Story Time. My story time. Story time from me. Hello, boys and girls. Okay, so let's have a roundup. Let's have a roundup of the story of my life so far. We are only beginning from age 18, and we're trying to go from the age of 18 to the age of roughly 28. So between 2004 and 2014 in my life history. Okay, so the main events were finishing school in 2004, summer of 2004, finished school. Was working at Legoland over the summer. Had a girlfriend whose name was Andrea. That's correct. Her name still is Andrea. She was my girlfriend at the time. I'm not in contact with her now. I wish I was, in a way, because she was cool. She feels like someone who I resonate with. But she lives elsewhere and she's got a boyfriend, so it's just tricky. Her mum's alright though. Her mum still works nearby, so I could possibly broker some contact at some point. And I'm thinking that I might actually do that at some point, but I don't feel like I don't want to do it while I'm still kind of in a weird place, about the whole thing. I don't want to. It's 10 years ago, right? Longer than 10 years ago that we broke up. But I'm obviously still talking about it in a way that I'm not comfortable with. I'm not comfortable in kind of talking to her again while I'm still not quite over that first part. That makes sense? And the reason I'm not fully over her as a person is because she kind of got all mixed in with everything that happened. So it's like I have to grieve and de-traumatize myself and tell the story of all the different things from that relationship onwards, because it's like she's merged in with a lot of the stuff that happened afterwards, because I was talking to her while I was in contact with, when I was in the relationship with Charlie. I was still talking to Andrea on the phone and wanting to be friends with her and stuff. So she was kind of in that relationship. Then, as I went off on my weird adventures and travels, I was still in contact with Andrea. And in fact, when I when I escaped from Ward 10 in the psychiatric ward in Wexham Park Hospital, when I escaped from there, I went to live with, it was more of an acquaintance than a friend. I went to live with an acquaintance at their house for about a month. And during that time, I reconnected with Andrea again. That was in 2008 then. Yeah, 2008. So I reconnected with her then and stayed in contact with her for a while. Met up with her during that time, actually. Met up with her while I was on the run from the law, in between hospital stays. And then I think it was like during the second hospitalization that she kind of like just cut off contact, and we've not been in contact directly since then, I don't think. Maybe another point afterwards briefly, but nothing beyond like a phone call. So yeah, she kind of cut me out of her life, which is a real shame because I feel a bit pissed off in a way that she couldn't forgive me for having gone mad or whatever, and she couldn't see past that, and that she just kind of like wrote me out of her life, which that part is a shame, and I'm a bit pissed about that, but not as much as I was. I felt a bit betrayed and a bit abandoned by her because she was a good friend, even though we didn't have very regular contact. I still felt like a real strong sense of resonance with her as a person. I always felt like it was a sort of like coming home in a way. Whenever I'd speak to her, I'd always feel like I was coming home to my true self when I speak to her, even if it was just briefly. It's like a little mini coming home, just feeling like, oh, I can be myself with this person. We'd have a good conversation, and then I'd feel like I wanted to restart the relationship, and then I tended to blow it. Anyway, so let's go back. So yeah, I mean, like, that's partly why I'm not over her, because she was like there in various ways throughout that time period. So it's like, it's not just the same as getting over a relationship and then whatever. It kind of carried on in the background. So I didn't fully get over her when we first broke up, and then all this other shit kind of came on top of it. So I didn't have the chance even to really get over her, because all this new stuff was suddenly coming along that was worse, even worse, than the breakup with her. The breakup with her was pretty upsetting, but then it's like more and more kind of bad stuff happened over a period of time. So the backlog of stuff to process and to get over just went, whoa, loads of stuff to sift through. And so I reached a kind of breaking point a few years ago. I was like, okay, I need to deal with my past now, because my past is like massive, and I need to like sift through it. So I had some counselling about that, and then I've been doing creative work about my past in various ways to process it in creative ways, because I feel like I almost don't want to do it in counselling, because I feel like there's a lot of creative material that can be turned into products as well in the future. And me being a creative person, that's just how I like to use life events. I like to take things and make something from them. But there was periods where I just needed actual counselling to help me deal with those things, because doing it creatively was just not strong enough, not enough of a release or enough of a medium to process things, to deal with things. So I had to had counselling, because I was just overwhelmed basically and depressed and stuff. So good. So we have, let's try and do some main events. So we have the leaving school, finishing school. I don't know if I went to a Reading festival. I might have gone to a Reading festival that year. Don't know. Maybe a festival, maybe not. Was working at Legoland. Was going out with Andrea. Had a good period of time working at Legoland. Didn't go to the festival because Andrea wouldn't let me, because I would have to have phoned in sick to Legoland, and she wouldn't let me do that because we hadn't booked the time off in advance, and it was going to be a last minute decision to go. And she was like, "No, you can't, because you haven't. We'll get in trouble, or you shouldn't, and you might risk losing your job or whatever. And we can't do it. No, we're not doing it. We've got to stay and go to work." So I was like, rah. Anyway, we know the story that I've told many, many times about how because she went to university, she also happened to go to university at a period of time when I was away as well on holiday. So she was in this new environment. I was away on holiday. She was getting to know new people, playing strict poker, telling me about it via email. I was feeling like I could feel her slipping away, and I said as much in the email. And okay, and then I came back and I went to see her at her new halls of residence in London, and found out that she had kissed this guy called Alan, and she had in fact slept with this guy called Alan. And they were kind of together, but it was slightly unclear what the official status was, because she was going out with me still. Technically, there was still the technical commitment agreement of monogamy there that she'd broken, and she was cheating on me with him. So I found that out, and we slept with each other a few more times that on that trip, and then basically said kind of, okay, goodbye, that's the end. Obviously that's the end. But that same night beforehand, I went and partied with one of the other girls who I had a crush on from school, who happened to go to the same university, and just didn't feel like I could dance, and just wasn't feeling good. And the other person didn't have any clue, because she's a self-absorbed person who doesn't really have the ability to see if other people are okay. Which is one of the things I like about Andrea, is that she is actually a sensitive human being who can tell when someone's upset, and she will ask you if you're okay, and she's a caring person in that way. Yeah, but this other person just didn't give a shit. I was like, fuck you then. Anyway, so I went and had some noodles outside. I think that was before I went dancing, but yeah, I had the noodles, and it was kind of a little moment to myself with just this feeling of what the fuck, but it's a strangely peaceful feeling as well. Like, I could hear the cars going by. It was slightly drizzly. There was neon lights in the noodle place, and really tasty noodles. I had the noodles because I had gone to a Reading festival. Maybe it was that year or the year before. Definitely went to it on my GCSE year. So I remember I got my results on the day that I went to Reading Festival, on the year of GCSEs, which was like 2002 then, I guess. So I went there, and my mum said, "Oh, you're a star," and I was like, "That's great." And I got loads of good results. And I remember definitely having noodles at Reading Festival that year and loving them. And it was like the first time I'd ever had like takeaway Chinese noodles. I don't know how I'd managed to avoid having takeaway Chinese noodles the whole rest of my life. But there's just something about having them at Reading Festival that was just like, they were amazing. And it was like my thing for a while, my comfort food. So when Andrew and I broke up, I went and had these noodles. I was like, yum, this is amazing. But obviously, no noodle has ever been the same as that first time I had noodles at Reading Festival. And it was like, oh my god, these are the best noodles ever. No noodle can match that original noodle. It's the most memorable noodles I've ever had. And it created a love of noodles for the rest of my life. I'm rambling about noodles. So, noodles, man. I need to get some more noodles in. Let's get more noodles. Yeah. Okay. Noodles. Chinese noodles with chicken in. Or vegetables. Chicken and vegetables. Chicken chow mein. Noodles. Yeah. So we broke up. Well, yeah. I guess I broke up with her, really. Because she cheated on me, so I had to break up with her. It feels like it was more of a kind of like mutual understanding of, yeah, well, this is not gonna. What are we gonna do now? That's it. It's obviously it because you're sleeping with him. I am not into threesomes. I don't. Obviously, that was never really a question at that time. And so Legoland ran out of work because it finishes its season in the winter. So we had the fireworks nights, and then it closed, and I didn't have a job. I was still in my band, Silent Dawn. My guitarist and singer-songwriter, co-writer friend called Steph had left around the same time as Andrea and I's relationship was going down the crap hole. Shitter. And so Steph had fucked off to do her own thing, and I was like gutted about that. Me, Chris, and Jim were going on it as a three-piece. Carrying on as a three-piece without that. We recorded a single and an acoustic track called Better during that three-piece time, right? Which was good, well produced, nice bit of studio time, had fun, was good, sounded really good. I was quite pleased with it, very pleased with it actually. Addicted to it, in fact. We just played it over and over and over again, afterwards. Like, okay, that was good. The fucking studio guy came in on the second day. I think we had 2 days of recording and mixing and stuff. He came in the second day. He was like hungover. He'd been taking coke the day before. He was a moody, ratty, irascible, irritable asshole on the second day. And I was just like, you're a dick. Yeah. Anyway, the song sounded really good. Even though, to this day, I slightly regret not pushing my actual angle for what I had wanted the song to be, because the song came out as a pop punk driving fast tempo song, right? Kind of a bit like a mix between Green Day and Muse. And what I'd originally intended for the song was something more Silverchair-y, which was a slower tempo, more eclectic, weird, not eclectic, more atmospheric, weird sounds and guitar solos, and just a more atmospheric thing overall, an more acousticy type of thing going on. And I wish that I had done that version there, because that was the version that I had intended. But the producer guy was like, just like, fuck you, man. It's a good song, but it's not the song that I wanted it to be. So, although it is good in itself, it's almost like it doesn't feel authentic in a way, because it's not true to the vision that I had for it. So I think what I will have to do is I'll have to actually do justice to the original vision and do a good recording of that same song and play it and arrange it how I wanted it originally to be, just with better quality recording devices. Because I did an original recording of it here at home with my low level, like, budget recording software and microphones and stuff, and it was like pretty crap, because I wasn't that good at mixing, and I wasn't that good at recording, and I wasn't that good at singing, and I wasn't that great at playing either at that time. So it didn't sound great, but it was how I wanted it to sound in terms of how it was arranged and the types of instrumentation, as in the types of notes and solos and stuff that I was playing, and the harmonies, the way I'd done them with the vocals was all the way that I wanted it to be. So yeah, I think I should do that as a kind of making amends to myself, because the reason why I didn't record it the way I wanted to originally was because this other guy, this producer guy, was a really strong personality, and he just took command of the whole thing, and I wasn't able to just be centered and say, I appreciate your input, but we're going to do it this way because I'm the one playing the guitar. It's my song. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And you can either help or we can go somewhere else. So, yeah. Don't jerk me around, man. I'm paying you to help. Alright? To help me, not to help you. So, yeah. Fuck that guy. There's a lot of times in this video series where I'm just saying, fuck that guy. And fuck that Alan guy as well. And fuck Andrea for fucking Alan. Fuck everyone. Fuck everyone. And fuck Charlie for sure. No, don't fuck him anymore. Just fuck him off. Get rid of him. Fuck him off. Okay, so we recorded a single. We were doing gigs at that time as a 3-piece. Then it was coming to light that Chris, the drummer, could not do rehearsals and gigs as regularly anymore, and that was becoming an issue for us to move our band forward because we wanted to keep doing gigs. Well, Jim and I wanted to keep doing gigs, and in order to have a successful running band, you have to be doing regular rehearsals and regular gigs, and then regular recording sessions as well, to keep the impetus going, to keep it as a presence, a band presence on the scene, active, alive in people's hearts and minds, and so they remember you, and so that you are gathering a following and building. But things weren't building. Things started to go, but that's the kind of thing that happens in every band. Well, not every band, sorry. Many bands at a young age will start and then they'll have to fall apart or change significantly because of the way that people's lives pan out. So that happens a lot. If not in all cases, then in many cases. So, yeah. All right. So, meanwhile, I was smoking a lot of weed with Jim, the bassist, at his house. I had one time where I freaked out on a blunt after a gig at Kingston at the Peel. We had a blunt, which if you don't know what blunt is, it's a pure joint, as in pure green, no tobacco to fluff it out. And I believe on this occasion we smoked it in a tobacco leaf style Rizzler. Yeah, I think it was that. Either that or it was just a licorice paper, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think we did it in a tobacco leaf Rizzler. Just a tobacco leaf kind of made up, one that had been made up into a cone shape already. I think that's how we did it. It was supposed to be a celebration of doing a good gig. It might well even have been our last gig with Chris the drummer at that time. Not that we would have known that, but yeah. And I freaked out on that, and not that Jim knew, but I freaked out to myself, and I was just going, whoa, just so many thoughts and just too many feelings for me to understand, and paranoia and stuff in it. But it was the kind of freak out that didn't just end there. So the anxiety and the paranoia and all the thinking seemed to freak me out beyond the experience of like being on this camper bed in Jim's room. So after that, I was just like, I don't know, it just brought up more anxieties. It kind of stayed there, and it stayed there as a kind of, it sort of like it opened up something. It had opened up this fear realm that I didn't know existed. This realm of fear inside me that I didn't know existed before. So I had anxiety from that point on that I'd not had before, or it had been less before, and it suddenly become this big thing. I was like, oh my god, yeah. So I was working at the Outback, and we would also have smoke weed with other people after work in someone's car or around. One of the guys, the head chef, he had this like garage thing out the back of his house, or it's a shed garage type of thing, and we'd all go and sit in there and hotbox it and get high, and I would do the bat, which was where I'd put my coat over my shoulders, suddenly flick the light off, and then go and freak everyone out for like 5 minutes. Yeah. Oh, before that actually. Was it before that or around that same time? I can't remember. No. Ah, so there's a little sneaky period of time, right? Which I occasionally forget even happened, but was quite important. And maybe it's maybe I forget why it even happened or that it even happened because it's important. So, uh, right. Jim, my bassist from my old band, Silent Dawn, had a girlfriend during the beginning phases of our band whose name was M. I'm not going to give you a full name, but M will do for now. M as in Emily. Right. So they were going out together, right? And then I kind of fancied her as well, and I think she kind of fancied me, but that was never clear at that time. Then I found out later that yes, she had fancied me a bit, and somehow we got back in contact again. I'm not exactly sure how. So this was while I was working at Outback. I think Jim was no longer on the scene because Jim had left the Outback and perhaps our band had dissolved by that point. But I got back in touch with M somehow. I don't know whether it wasn't through Facebook because I don't think Facebook was really going on then. So it must have been through phone numbers or somehow I got back in contact with her. And we arranged to meet up. So I was meeting up with M in her area, which is in Langley, Maplin Park area, or was that area at that time anyway. So I was meeting up with her and some of her friends. But the first time we met up, she just came around here and we just hung out and listened to music, I believe. And she slept next to me and we kind of cuddled, but we never kissed, which was really weird. And I was really kind of like gutted that I didn't push anything, but I felt like I wanted to push something to happen with her, but something was prohibiting me. Like I just couldn't sort of push myself to the next stage, and I think it was probably because she turned out to have a boyfriend of her own already, but I didn't learn that until quite a lot later. So that was. I think there was some kind of emotional barrier there. Like she was there and she was with me and she was cuddling me, and we were sleeping next to each other on my floor, but nothing further than that happened. And I was aware that I was like, I fancy this girl. Why am I not doing anything? And it makes sense because sometimes I can't always push an action if there's some kind of emotional block from the other person or inside myself. And I believe it was probably because I was picking up on her, was maybe her signal to say no that I was picking up on. Like she wasn't giving me enough of a signal to say yes, this is okay to go further. So that's why I didn't push it any further. So, but like afterwards, I was like, why didn't I do anything? But I know now why I didn't do anything because she hadn't sort of she wasn't in the place to be in a yes mode, if that makes sense. So I just felt that intuitively and I didn't do anything. But I was aware of like I was aware that I wanted to make make a move and that I wasn't. And that was very unnatural for me because normally I would make a move in that sort of scenario with a girl, but I hadn't, and I felt like an inhibition that I was not aware why it was there. But it makes sense looking back that she had a boyfriend already. She just hadn't told me about it. And so I must have just been picking up on that intuitively. So that's actually a new discovery to realize why I didn't make a move there. That's new. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So I was meeting up with M and a couple of her other friends, including her boyfriend, but I didn't know it was her boyfriend. So I was under the impression that I was moving towards wooing M in a way, which I didn't realize I'd completely got the wrong end of the stick. Because I didn't realize that M and this guy called Chase were they were actually going out, and like maybe to a more fucking clued up person that would have been fucking obvious, but it was never stated. No, they never stated it openly, and they never kissed in front of us, and they never cuddled or anything like that. So it was me, this guy called Chase, whose name was Andrew, really, and this other guy called Adam, and maybe someone else. I forget his name. the other guy. It was definitely someone else, but I forget his name. Luke, Paul, John, Tom. Feels like Mike, Luke. It's Luke. Matt. It wasn't Matt. He's more of a Luke than a Matt. Let's call him Luke for the hell of it. Might turn out to be someone else. But yeah, so there was me, two main guys, Chase and this other guy, let's call him Luke, and then occasionally this guy called Adam, and then M. So what's that? 5 people? Me, M, Chase, Adam, and Luke. 5 people hanging out, either in my car or someone else's car. We'd get a little bit stoned. I would abstain if I was driving, but I would be okay if I'd been picked up by someone else. Or maybe I'd abstained. I might already be completely abstaining. No, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. No, I wasn't abstaining. I don't know whether I was abstaining or not. I also played a little session, of music with those people once, in Langley Rehearsal Studios, which was random, and I got high at that occasion, and I thought I was making some amazing, incredible music with these people, to the point of like Led Zeppelin amazingness. And then it turned out that it was just shit, and it was like, why do we even bother doing it? Because we were just high and we thought everything was amazing. I remember drawing this mind map as well afterwards of like all the different things in my life that I was aware of, like, and the different people. So it's like the different people in my life, and then the different scenarios in my life and what I wanted to do about them, and I had this mind map that I made up at that time. So these are all kind of, this is a chunk of my life that doesn't get much airtime in my brain or in my. I rarely talk about this. I don't think I've ever spoken about this to anyone else in the history of my life, in fact, apart from M a little bit afterwards. Yeah. So this is the whole kind of little area. So things that happened during that time. So I met up with them. We smoked a bit of weed. I was getting into the hypnosis stuff at that time as well. So I was practicing some suggestion techniques to get people to respond to my hypnotic suggestions, right? And while they were high, I was making suggestions to open and close, and I was using a weed grinder, as a way to make the suggestions. So I was saying, Luke, as you see me opening the grinder, do you see how it's opening up and it's becoming more and more open? You see the opening? Ah, now it is open. Right? That was the suggestion. And then the point what I was trying to do is I was trying to influence them to be more open or more closed in their body language, right? That's what I thought I was doing anyway. I don't know if I actually was, but whenever I opened the thing, finally opened it, then the guy, Luke, would go, "Oh my God, man, I don't understand it," opening up his body posture. "Oh my God, what are you trying to tell me, man? What are you trying to do?" And then I'd say, "Hey, look, Luke, now I'm about to close the grinder. See, I'm going to move it closer, and I'm going to start to close it down, shutting it down and closing it all the way down. Each time I twist, more and more closed and shutting it down." And then once it was fully closed, he would go, "Nah, man," and close off his body posture. "Nah, man, I don't get it. I don't know what you're doing. What are you trying to tell me?" And then I'd do the opening thing again. He'd go, "Oh, man, what are you trying to tell me, man? What are you doing?" And then I'd close it and be like, "Oh, no, man, I don't understand it." Yeah, obviously he was high. I was high. There's probably a lot less going on than I thought there was. Yeah. Anyway, but that's the story, and I made a thing out of it for a while afterwards to prove my hypnotic prowess. It might have been a thing, it might not have been a thing. I don't know. Honestly, I don't care. Right. So I was practicing my little hypnotic suggestion stuff on these people. I'd also bought a book on body language. It's a book called Body Language, I think, by Alan and Barbara Pease. Alan and Barbara Pease. Body Language, not of love. It's just like, it was just a kind of generic. The definitive book of body language. It was that. Yeah. Right. So it's the definitive book of body language, and Barbara and Ann Pease, I believe, are the people, right, who in our earliest sessions were on the fucking book, that stupid book that I was playing with that goes, follow your dreams, questions are the answers, wherever that has gone. I don't know where it's gone. Did I throw it away? That would be great if I throw it away. Useless. Oh, questions are the answers. Questions are the answers. No. Let's put it on here. Alan and Barbara Pease. Questions. Oops. Questions are the answer. It's by Alan Pease. I don't know if it's the same person, right? But it's the same name. It's by Alan Pease. So there's a connection in some way to this whole story. Oops. Didn't realise I wasn't on the screen properly. There is a connection in some way. And you've now seen a nice little bit of my backside. Okay. So, yes. So I hang out with these lot. Right. I was getting high a lot. I wrote some lyrics to the song Blame Marijuana while I was during that phase. While I was in that phase, so I'll just zoom in on my groin here again. It says Blame Marijuana there, track 10, track 10, track 10. And this is all about finding out what's to blame. This is all my kind of struggles with the paranoia and the negative effects of being on weed, because one of the things that happened was the group started having a go at me because, alright, so I had this thing on body language, I was doing the hypnosis thing, I was basically starting to become a bit of a manipulative cunt because I was using all these like subtle techniques to try and manipulate the situation so that I could get with them and to fuck everyone else off. But I was also in a weird kind of denial as well. Like, I really fancied them. I was obviously trying to get with her. I knew I was trying to get with her, but somehow I was also in denial to myself that I wasn't trying to get with her. I don't know how I did that. But I would always be trying to find time alone with her, to try and flirt with her and to try and get close to her and stuff. And occasionally it would happen. And like, I managed to get time with her, just me and her in her room or whatever, trying to chat shit or whatever. And like, it wasn't going anywhere. But somehow as well, I was managing to kind of somehow convince myself and the others that I wasn't interested in her. Yet I obviously was interested in her, and that was why I was hanging out with these chumps. I don't know how I did that. I managed to put myself in denial about the fact that I fancied her, and then still move towards trying to get with her. I even remember having conversations with these other people. This Luke guy, we went out to this field somewhere in the Cotswolds. He liked to go to the Cotswolds, which is a little countryside bit near here. Went to this field of blue bottles and he showed me. He used to drive pretty mad. I don't like when people drive mad, and his seat was really low. And he was like, he used to drive like this, really low and far back. I'm like, dude, how can you drive like that? That is not a safe way to drive. Anyway, and he would drive high as well, man. I put myself in some dangerous situations when I was younger. Yeah, so anyway, he took me out to there, not to kill me, just because we wanted to be in nature and stuff. Not in a gay way either, just hanging out as friends. And I think he asked me, look, do you fancy M? What's going on? What are you trying to do? And I was like, nah, man, nah. Nah, man. Nah. And there's something to do with like fantasizing about her. But I can't remember whether I said that to him or if I said it just to myself. I don't know. But yeah, I was fantasizing about her and trying to somehow get with her. And then I just denied it to everyone. It was weird. Anyway, there came this time where I got kicked out of the group, basically. I just got kicked out of the group. And that sucked. So, but before I tell that story, there are a couple of other things that I remember. So we went out to the forest. It's not forest. We went out to the woods down the road and we played hacky sack. At least on one occasion, which was shit actually. And also another thing was there was a fire on her estate. Some portaloo had been set on fire by someone, and I was in my like save the world kind of beginnings of that feeling of being socially responsible and stuff. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to call the fire brigade to get them involved. And then Chase was really paranoid about the police and the fire engines and stuff, and he just didn't want me to do it, and he was like freaking out because I think he'd had some kind of run-ins with the law before. I wasn't exactly sure what that situation was, but he was really paranoid about authorities and stuff. But I was like, man, I'm going to call the fucking fire brigade, and I did end up calling the fire brigade. I'm not sure if they came because I called them or they were already been alerted. I can't remember exactly, but I remember calling the fire brigade, and this portaloo cabin was put out. There was this thick black smoke everywhere. Yeah, so that was a weird thing that happened. And then, okay, so hacky sack, the fire thing, yep. I had the thing where M came over. I think that was one of the first things that happened. And then another important instance was after hanging out with them one time, right? We found some random stuff in a bush one time. We took it back and we were like trying to figure out what it was. I think it was some kind of like hair straighteners or something, or some like weird. It was some like weird device. We didn't know what it was, and because we were high, we were like thinking up all these crazy scenarios. Like it might have been an alien thing, might be involved in a murder mystery. What is this? I swear I've got some kind of eyelash thing going on. Yeah, so we found this random stuff in a hedge. I'm like, oh man, what is it? I remember I was always trying to like hang around and get closer to the M, and I kept hanging around longer and longer to just like prolong my like chances to be with them. But of course, her being with Chase, like they were always together, and I was always trying to get moments alone with her, but I couldn't really get them, or only very occasionally, like when Chase was at work or something. This was before I started going out with Charlie and all that shit. Yeah, so one of the things that M and I had in common at that time was we were both interested in this body language stuff, and so I got this book and was trying to show it to her and things. It all seems very strange and innocent and weird. It's like it's in between school level of teenagerness and like adulthood. It's like somewhere in between where relationships are just a bit strange. I think like after school, but not quite in a mature way of dealing with friends. I don't know. It was weird. Yeah. So then, okay, so like I think it was after that time when we found these weird devices in the hedge. We're trying to look at them. Oh, by the way, let's call him Luke again. Was on about being on mushrooms and stuff. Pardon me. And there's a lot of drugs going on, and I was kind of like in a little bit, but I wasn't interested in mushrooms, so I thought that was just going to be too much for me, so I didn't do that. I only ever did weed, in fact, or weed or skunk or hash, whatever, but nothing stronger than that at that time anyway. I sort of regret not doing ecstasy or MDMA, and I'm not sure if I will ever do it. I'd like to, but I feel it might be too strong for me. I'm quite sensitive to this kind of thing. I just don't know if I don't want to have an unpleasant experience, and I really don't want to have a majorly unpleasant experience. And usually the things that other people find really exhilarating and happiness inducing, I find way too overstimulating. So, not sure. I'd like to do LSD, but again, similar. I'm not sure. Mushrooms just feel way too strong. Because apparently mushrooms are where like you get the most hallucinogenic kind of experiences, and I think that's too much for me. Okay, I'm hallucinating enough as it is. All right, I might try and achieve the same sorts of effects as mushrooms by meditative experiences when I get a bit of time to do that, but I have no time. My whole fucking life is my own time. I don't have time to do it. Yeah. But I mean, like when I feel like I'm in a good place to like dedicate some time to do it. It's not high on my priorities list, basically, is what I'm saying. It's not high on my priorities list to simulate the experience of tripping out on mushrooms by meditation practices. That's what I'm saying. It's not high on my priority list right now. Okay, so after that occasion where we found this random device that we thought may have come from aliens or might be involved in a murder mystery of some kind, and we took it back to Ems and we were discussing it with her mum and maybe her dad, and then Chase was over there as well. Also, Chase had a go at me one time because I asked him what his real name was, and he was like, I only tell people who have known me and who I can trust. I was like, fuck it, no, talk about guarded. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all of the relevant information, or all of the memories I have about that whole thing. Apart from the ending, the two ending parts. So one of the ending parts was after the thing with the stuff and the aliens, right? I went back to my car and I saw Em and Chase kissing. And that's the first time, right, that I'd see them be intimate or affectionate or anything. The rest of the time, they were always like sat in different chairs. You didn't see them touch. You didn't see them kiss. They didn't see them hug. Nothing. So, having not known that they were in a relationship, then it was like, how was I supposed to know? Because there was like me and 3 other guys and this one girl, and there was no indication from my limited perspective. I probably would have seen it a mile off straight away now, but from my limited perspective at that time, I couldn't tell. I didn't know that they were going out, and maybe they were trying to keep it secret, or I don't know, for a bit. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was never put out there as a, oh yeah, they're together. None of the other blokes said anything about them being together. Was I supposed to just know? Why didn't I know? Why didn't I know? Why did no one tell me? Like, how did I not know that? Anyway, I saw them kissing as I was going to my car, or as I was driving away. I saw them kissing, and I was like, oh, fuck. And I kind of went into denial about that as well. I went into denial thinking, oh, maybe I didn't see it. Maybe that was just a one-time thing. Maybe that's just a one-time thing. Maybe I didn't see it. Maybe it wasn't real. Maybe they were just hugging. Maybe they didn't kiss. I don't know. Did I really see them kiss? So I was in this doubt thing of my own perceptions. Mainly because I wanted to go out with Em, and I was trying to get close to Em. So, like, it's like I couldn't even allow myself to fully acknowledge that she was going out with someone else. I was kind of willfully blinded myself to it. Yeah. So that's interesting. How we can be so blind, and how we willfully blind ourselves sometimes to certain facts because of our desires. We want something to be the case, and then it turns out, dude, she's been seeing this guy for ages. Anyway, so I saw them kiss, and I kind of went into this denial of, no, really, was it? Maybe it's just a friend. Maybe it's just a friend hug. Maybe they're just like, like friend thing. Maybe it's just a hug. Maybe it's just a friend thing. Yeah, it's a friend thing. Just a friend thing that she does with everyone, right? No. Anyway, so that was one of the ending things. I remember feeling gutted though at the time. And I think it was probably because I couldn't face that feeling and just go, okay, right, oh, so they're going out then. What have I been doing? I'm a muppet. I should just back out. But I was like, nah. Well, did I see that? No, I didn't see it. Did I really see it? No, it's just a friend thing. I mean, it could just be a friend thing. I actually thought that. I was like, yeah, no, I don't think they kissed. They didn't really kiss. I didn't really fully see them kiss. You know, it could have been a trick of the light. They were quite far away, so you know, and it could just been a friend thing. You know, I mean, she hugs everyone. It could have just been a friend thing. Friend hug, definitely a friend hug. So that was like that. Stupid boy. Me, stupid boy. Stupid boy. Anyway, so that happened, and then they all confronted me on another occasion, right? This was the last occasion I hung out with these guys. And to begin with, I didn't really know what was happening, and I didn't really know that I was being ganged up on. But then I suddenly was like, oh, I'm being kind of cornered and told off, because it seemed that they had already pre-agreed that they were going to do this, because it was sort of almost like they exchanged some signal and they went, right, now's the time. And they sort of said something like, shall we do it now or what? And then they all went, yeah, okay, let's do it now. And I was just like sat there like, what the hell? And they just started having a go at me, basically. Each one of them having a go at me about the fact that they felt that I was trying to manipulate the group and pull the group around and push the group around and set people on each other and stuff because of me wanting to get with them. And I was like using tricky tactics by saying one thing to one person and saying something else to another person, which I was doing that, but honestly, I didn't even realize it, because I was fucking blinding myself to my own intentions somehow. I'm like, how do you do that? But I did it. And like, so I was telling, for example, one person that I think I must have told someone that I fancied her and then denied it to another person, or I don't know. And I was using these hypnosis techniques and stuff to try and, I don't know what I was doing, why I was doing it. I was trying to practice my hypnosis techniques and then trying to use it to get what I want, I suppose. But it wasn't working. Yeah, so I got confronted by these guys in the car, and Em as well. And they basically just kind of told me something along the lines of to walk away or move on. That they thought it would be the right thing for me to walk away from the situation. Which basically meant fuck off and don't come back and stop hanging out with us, and that's it, you're done, we're done with you, kind of thing. And I think I just got out of the car, because it wasn't my car that I was in, and I just walked home. I think we were kind of like down there, not too far away from my house, but I just remember getting out of the car and just being like, fuck. I just walked home. Proper gutted. But then I didn't really think about it that much afterwards, because, as I say, it's a very strange period in time that really went into the darkness. Like, I didn't really remember that it happened until recently. But it did happen. It's definitely there. It's something, a series of events that all happened, that all focused around M. Another aspect as well, sorry, was I went on holiday with my friend Sam, who was working at the Outback restaurant with me and who I'd known from secondary school. I went on holiday to Wales with Sam to do a hiking trip, and we hiked up Mount Snowdon. I think that's what it's called. Snowdon, yeah, Mount Snowdon. Or was it Ben Nevis? I don't know. We hiked up some mountain together, and we did some other hiking up some high things. And a couple of relevant or memorable parts of that were learning about why Sam didn't do so well at school, because he just he didn't really think that he needed to, and that it was below him, and he just, until the sixth form, he didn't really think that there was much point, so he didn't. He just had fun instead, so I found that out. Also, we were trying to climb up this really steep hill, and it got even more steep the further we went up, and it got really, really steep, to the point where it was becoming dangerous. And it was just made of grass. It wasn't rocks or anything, but it was just grass. But it was becoming so steep that it was becoming dangerous. And I was like, no, we can get to the top, we can get to the top, we can get to the top. And then Sam was like, dude, this is too much, this is dangerous. And I was like, no, we can do it, we can do it, we can do it. And I was pushing us higher and higher up this mountain thing, to the point where it was getting dangerous. And I believe Sam said, like, come on, man, we can't do this anymore. And then so we tumbled down, and it was a bit hairy for a while. But yeah, I realized there during that experience something about the nature of my ambition was that similar to how I was pushing the band for success, my ambition was pushing myself and other people to points where it was not helpful or not healthy or dangerous even. For example, like how I used to push the band was that I pushed my band members to go with my ideas without listening to them. I pushed, for example, with those friends as well, I was pushing for what I wanted at the expense of the other people around me. Like, I didn't care what, I didn't even know how they felt. I didn't care how they felt. I was so blind and so invested in my own desires that I thought everything was about me during that case. Yeah, and then when it came to them climbing up the mountain while I was on holiday with Sam, I pushed us really high up that thing, thinking, oh yeah, we can carry on, we can get to the top, without realizing the danger that we were putting ourselves in, because it was getting really steep, and like to the point that if we fucked up, we would fall down quite a long way before we were able to really get our grip again, because it was that kind of steepness that you couldn't just recover from that very easily. So I think we did have a bit of a tumbly fall of a descent. It wasn't a nice descent, it was a dangerous descent back down that thing. So I realized something about the nature of my ambition, that I wasn't kind of, what's the word? I wasn't engaged with the realities of the situations. I thought that I could achieve more or push myself further than was healthy to or wise to. So that was an important learning there. And during that whole hiking trip, I was just constantly obsessed about M. I was constantly thinking, honestly, I was constantly thinking about how I could manipulate the situation to work. I wouldn't have used those terms, but I was constantly thinking of how can I get her to love me? How can I get her to be with me? What can I say to her to make it work? What can I do to make it work? And then when I came back from that holiday, they fucking kicked me out of the group anyway, so bollocks to it. But I remember being in this suffering mode most of the time, just thinking, constantly thinking about how I could make it work and why wasn't it working, and what can I do and stuff. And I was obsessed about the whole thing all through this hiking, through this lovely nature, missing out on the whole of the natureness, only seeing little bits of it here and there, and just being like constantly in my brain thinking. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do to make it better? How can I make it work? What can I say? What am I supposed to say? What can I say? What can I say? Trying to think of different things I could say, trying out new tactics in my mind of how I could make the situation better and make it work. And get her to be with me. And none of it worked. And then they all ended up kicking me out of that group anyway. So that's the end. I really need a wee, so I'm going to end the video shorter than normal. Thanks for watching. Fieros on My Story Time.